Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Emmitsburg's town meeting for the evening of September 9th. Before we begin, we kindly ask that you take a moment to silence your cell phones. This includes notifications, phone calls, any media or gaming sounds. Your cooperation helps us ensure a smooth and respectful meeting. Thank you so much for your understanding. At this time, we invite you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Future meetings coming up. We have the Planning Commission meeting on September 10th at 7 p.m. in the town office and on Zoom. Sustainable Communities Work Group meeting on September 16th at 7 p.m. Here in the town office and on Zoom. Also, the write-in election deadline will be Tuesday, September 24th at 12 o'clock noon. And we will have a workshop meeting coming up on Tuesday, September 24th at 7 p.m. here in the town office and on Zoom. We also have a planning commission for the comprehensive plan on September 30th at 7 p.m. in the town office and on Zoom. And then we have our elections coming up. Town elections Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 at 22 East Main Street at 7 a.m. all the way through 8 p.m. Please come out and vote. Board of Commissioners meeting will be October 7th at 7 p.m. here in the town office and on Zoom. Commissioners, we lost the mayor. We lost the mayor. Do we have any additional meetings? Nope. Good. All right, moving on. So we're looking at approving the minutes for the meeting for August 5th. Since you've received them in your packet, are there any questions? Or is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 5th?
I'll make a motion to accept the meetings as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions?
I have a couple of additions or changes. On the first page of the minutes under approval of minutes. I think it should be yays 4, nays 0 under approval of the July 15th minutes. And then right below that under the police report should be July that was presented. And then page 7 in our agenda packet. The second paragraph, resolution 24-05R.
I'm sorry, what page, please?
7 of 89.
Thanks.
There's no yays or nays, but that was kind of part of the previous motion. So I'm not sure if that's really needed. More importantly, down at the bottom, under item number 3, sign approved text amendments and or resolutions. It should say the board agreed to meet to discuss water rates, tap fees, and impact fees. So if we could just add impact fees, and that's all.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner O'Donnell.
A simpler one on page 5 of 89. The organization's abbreviated name is NICA as opposed to NIKA. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Is there a motion to approve the minutes with the additions mentioned by Commissioners Fernquist and O'Donnell?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We are now moving on to the police report.
Good evening. Still myself and Deputy Bartholow. He's out on FMLA right now. We used 2 holiday days of leave and 1 day of sick leave. There are 2 other deputies that are filling in for him. That would be my Corporal Bird and DFC Testerman. We handled National Night Out on August 6th, the pool party, August 16th, Mount St. Mary's to welcome the freshmen, August 17th. And on the 21st, I came in early to patrol the school bus stops for the kids to make sure everything went smooth. My vehicle is at the dealership. The motor's having trouble. I don't know anything about it. I handled, this is just my number, 59 calls for service, 1 arrest, 19 total traffic stops, and 2 win cards. I handled a DUI crash on, I forget the exact date, but an arrest was made. You have the other stat sheet in front of you. If there's any questions about that, you guys can ask me.
Thank you for the extra patrol by the bus stop. I know there was some concern with first aid jitters, so people have expressed their gratitude to have you there, so thank you.
No problem.
As far as the DUI crash, was that in town limits?
Yeah, North Seaton,
Okay,
right above the town square.
gotcha. All right, thank you. Commissioners, any other comments or questions? Nope. All right, thank you so much. All right, at this time, we move to the town manager's report. Turning to Ms. Willetts.
Good evening. This is the town manager's report for July. I'll highlight some of the key areas. Related to streets, staff weed killed 8 and weed 8 tree wells, sidewalks and curbs on East and West Main Street. For the parks, the staff assisted with jetting the pool sewer line 2 to 3 times a week to keep the line open. They also dug out some tree stumps in the E. Eugene Myers Park. They also weeded, weed ate, and weed killed and put mulch down in the Emmett Gardens playground. Related to wastewater, in the month of July, we treated 541,387 gallons per day and consumed 286,000, which meant 47.05% of the wastewater in July was wild water. We did exceed the plant design capacity 6 days that month. However, we did not have any spills of untreated sewage. We received 2.9 inches of precipitation. And at the end of July, we had a deficit of 0.06 inches. However, with all the rain we received in August, we're back to a 2.23 inch surplus. Related to water, Rainbow Lake was at the spillway and is currently at the spillway level of 16.6 feet. You'll see the well depths for the month of July. And then on page 12 or page 11, you'll see the monthly well average or the monthly average well depths for 2023. And then page 12 has the monthly average depths for 2024. Water production, we consumed an average of 286,641 gallons. And we average consumption was 286,190, which meant the amount of backwash water in July was roughly 14.91%. You'll see trash pickup will remain on Mondays during the month of September. I've listed some of the meetings I attended in July. Just some noteworthy items. Staff assisted with a tour of the water and wastewater treatment plant for the senior center. Staff's continuing to work with the engineers and contractor on the bridge replacement project at Rainbow Lake. They're working on updating the emergency action plan for water and sewer operations. Staff's working on new permit requirements for the wastewater treatment plant and new wastewater capacity management plan as required by MDE. MDE has changed a lot this year. They're doing everything through their online portal and they've changed some permit requirements. One of the big noteworthy items that staff is working on with the town attorney and the engineers The Creamery Pump Station project is moving forward. However, there's a significant time delay due to supply chain and shipping delays. Estimated completion is now June of 2025. This is something that we're working through as we speak. And that's my report.
Thank you. Questions or comments regarding the town manager's report?
I have one.
Mhm.
Is there a penalty clause in the contract for the pump station?
There
Because
is, but it's, right now, it's a time delay, change order, as well as cost delay. However, it is being worked through, as I said, with the attorney and the engineer.
Okay,
So
thank
we're
you.
looking at all the options.
Thank you.
Additional questions, comments? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Willetts. We're moving on to the grant administrator report.
Good evening. This is the grants administrator report. I'm just going to highlight a few things. This is starting on page 14 in the agenda packet. So for the bathroom concession stand project, we have issued the notice to proceed to the contractor, but we're waiting on permitting before we officially break ground, and we need revised improvement plans before we can do that. So we're hoping it'll start soon. The building is currently scheduled to arrive late part of October on the 21st. The water clarifier project, Kathy will be mentioning probably at the end of the meeting that we're going to have a request in October for a change order for a residential project representative. They're asking for more money for an inspector for the project. So we're waiting on that, I guess, to officially start with construction. And then for Rainbow Lake parking lot, which is grant 23-5 and 2313. The stakeout is supposed to start on the 18th, 19th of this month, and then the hauling should start on the 20th. The project's expected to be done by October 6th. On the DePaul Street at the bottom is in progress, still on target to be finished in April. On the next page, the North Seaton Avenue water line, the design for that is actually finished, and we're supposed to have a meeting next week with the engineer to discuss the design of that project. And I think those are pretty much the big things going on. Is there any questions?
Questions or comments? I did have a question regarding the grant that we were looking at to provide electrical to the farmer's market with, is that still?
Yeah, so that was on page 16
Oh,
of the
it's
agenda
not.
packet.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got we got notice that we did not get the grant. They did not provide a reason why. Sometimes they do, but they didn't say why.
Yes, I apologize for that. And it's probably a good thing since we're looking at some changes anyway. And then do you know, as far as the upcoming grants to apply for, number 2, it said EPA recreation economy for rural communities. What kind of things did we have in mind for?
Yeah, so I actually, since I put together my grants administrator report, I researched more into that grant, and it's a planning assistance grant. So it's not financial. It would be them helping us to decide ways that we can improve our trails. And like doing an action plan, kind of like we got for our Main Street. So there would be no match and no actual amount.
Understood.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the town planners report.
Good evening. This is the town planner's report. I'll highlight a few things. We responded to several zoning inquiries and processed 6 permit applications. I'll skip to the development updates. Federal Stone has made a lot of progress at the time of this, when the report was written. They had passed the county's most recent inspection of this project. The developer has yet to formally request a partial bond release. Then we have the Seton Village subdivision plat. We're still waiting on signatures for that, and the fee in lieu. And then the Mount St. Mary's University's nursing school, that's also been doing well with the county inspections. Emmitsburg Distillery Project, the developer is working with the project engineer of Fiddlestone to make revisions to the Creamery Court improvement plans. They've inquired about building permits. They'll have to get a site plan approved by the planning commission first. Christ's Community Church, their improvement plans were tabled by the planning commission. The project engineer has to address the set of comments from the town engineer and the planning department. Conditional zoning permit was issued as mentioned before. So they could get started on the building permit application. But like I said, they have a lot of comments to address before they can receive approval of the improvement plans. Also on page 19, we recently learned that the developer of the Silo Hill Plaza project requested an extension of their grading and stormwater management permits. So it looks like they want to move forward. I know that was stalled for a bit. And for Emmett Ridge, the DRB group is still coordinating with the county regarding stormwater management. And they have yet to give us an update on that. I'll move on to stormwater management and highlight a few things. Working on the annual report that's due next month. A required IDD inspection was done by the consultant Barton and Judas, and we've been working to finalize the deed of easements for the tree planting project on Daughters of Charity's property, which is on the agenda tonight. And then we've also been working to make sure that all the stormwater management utility fees are good to go. Planning Commission will meet tomorrow night, as mentioned earlier. And we're working on the comprehensive plan, and we'll have a presentation regarding the current draft at the next or the October meeting. Regarding grants, I just want to highlight that the Sustainable Communities Work Group will meet next Monday to recommend projects for the Community Legacy Grant. And then under miscellaneous, a couple things to highlight are the RFP for the groundwater appropriation permit support and Glow Fiber. They had asked for utility plans and the permitting process they have to go through. So we're in communication with them. And I've also listed some meetings that I attended. That's the planner support.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Commissioner Turnquist.
Yeah, a question on the facade improvement project or program grant. It says match 10,000 and it's listed twice. Do we contribute 10,000 to the facade program?
So it's 10,000 based on like staff time and printing and stuff like that. So that's an estimate, but we don't write a check for $10,000 if that makes sense.
Okay, we don't add any funds to the fund balance.
Right. Yeah, our match is the staff time and printing.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hoover, did you? No, okay, great. All right, moving on. Thank you. We're going into commissioner comments. Let's start with Commissioner O'Donnell.
If it's okay, could I do the Parks and Recreation report? from
Did
the
I
meeting?
skip it?
Sure. No, I don't know if I got billing.
Go, well, you can have, yeah,
Is it okay?
absolutely, Parks and
Okay.
Rec.
So I'm trying to use the same format as we used last time, just to kind of set a pattern. There were no complaints or concerns regarding park conditions or needs at this time, which was nice. There was a question about trimming around Community Parks path, the paved path where the fitness trail is. It doesn't need it now, but it will need it in the near future. That was the sentiment from some members. We discussed grant funding for projects for grant members, for committee members to consider sort of a perfect world scenario, what they would want to see in the parks. And I advise that we have a premium grant writing staff, and that there's a possibility that if they came forward with something that the committee approved of and the board approved of, then a grant might be pursued. Moving from there, the soccer enrollment for the Catoctin football, Catoctin mountain football, pardon me. The enrollment is, I believe, up to 86 players, and I think it's grown since then. The benefit to our town is profound in that there's such beautiful activity in the park. Many evenings, the parks are being used. People are complimenting the idea that, look at all the activity here. It's great to see. The walkers are very enthused. Last week, when I was in the park, there were virtually no parking spaces. How about that? Because we had baseball practice going on and we had the soccer practices going on. The soccer team has some forthcoming questions, and I'll defer to staff on this. But one of the concerns they have is meeting the needs of their little guys, their little teams, and they're asking to use the outfields. I think that's been addressed, but I don't know if that's been formally done. So it has been great. Okay, I'll share that with the committee. Moving from there, we heard an enthusiastic report about the community garden. We did not have a consensus because the numbers were too low. However, we had, we'll say, unanimous support for establishing a budget for the park. A consideration might be $3,000 per year. And that is something that this future board will have to discuss. Oh, I'm sorry. There were two future asks for the football. One was that outfield access. The other was potentially in the long run, perhaps lights. So a thought. The point that we kind of tripped across was that there's going to be a regional park built near the university, and it very likely will have lights. So we would, I don't know, we might need it, we might not, but I think it would be something for consideration for the park, because I can only see the use of our park increasing. There were some questions about the storyboard. We learned from the library that they are not willing to change the signs for the stories. So it's fallen to the board, the committee, to do that. So committee members have volunteered to change the storyboards more frequently, which was a request. They were updated on the community, what are we calling that? Community snack bar restroom facility in the community park. The numbers have been consistent that we're hoping for the October 21st completion, start and the completion near November 3rd. We discussed the turkey trot, and we might have volunteers coming from the committee and committee friends and family. And then we talked about some trail items that we're intending to get National Park Service standard placards for wayfinding. The Red Trail rebuild is underway. I'll share something about that later under the business. And then the parking lot, you heard the update, and we're going to see something tonight about that. A last thing that had unanimous support was the hope to hopefully grant fund a youth activity camp program that would involve sports, access to the pool, and possibly focus on our young ladies in town to get them engaged in team sports. This would also help perhaps supplement and support the sports programs at our own Catoctin High School. And with that, I conclude the Parks and Rec report.
Thank you. Questions or comments regarding Parks and Rec? All right, so can Commissioner comments now?
Oh, all right. I have none.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Turnquist.
I will pass.
Commissioner Sweeney.
Yeah, the Little League soccer has also started. Little League is starting also, fall ball. So both parks will be fully used for the fall. And there's also a big tournament that's going to be in October, the first weekend in October, besides the soccer going on. So, and then come out to vote. Voting is on October 1st, so please come out and vote. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoover. Okay, coming back to me, I just wanted we had a good turnout from people here on the board who attended the Emmitsburg Thurmont Community Show, and it was so nice to see the number of people who attended increase, and there were so many youngins there to show off their animals, fruits, veggies, and it was just a really wonderful time to see the communities come together and be very proud of what they do and the work that they do. Second, speaking of fruits and veggies, the community garden has been fabulous this year, and I can attest that the melons that are coming from that community garden are delicious. So kudos to Mr. Jack Deathridge and everyone who is helping with our garden. Next, you may have received a letter in the mail about the water line and how we need color pictures, I believe, coming in. Can those be sent in via email, or do they have to be printed and sent?
It can be done by email.
Okay.
Or if you have the capability to do it with your little QR code on your phone,
Sweet.
it sends it right in that way also. It's
Perfect.
just another MDE requirement.
Thank you. Also, keep an eye out on September 20th, the town of Emmitsburg, for the first time ever, is participating in the Missing Man Table. We will have a table set up in the town office to honor our military heroes who never returned home, whether they were prisoners of war or missing in action. Also, I read that there is an FCPS task force to address aging and overcrowding schools, not necessarily one and the same. I plan to speak to advocate for Emmitsburg Elementary so that we can finally, hopefully, receive safety upgrades due to the fact that we're still in open school layout. And same thing that Commissioner Sweeney said, please come out and vote October 1st. And that is all. Turning over to Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of quick things. The soccer program did have their first games this weekend and they won every game. So all the teams in Emmitsburg are undefeated. Yeah. And I went out tonight to speak to the parents that were here, and we are getting a lot of families from out of Emmitsburg, which is a great testament to the people that are running this league. They're very well organized, and that's great. So it's, while the kids are having things to do, the businesses are going to benefit by this, from coming to town to eat and buy gas, groceries, whatever. So that's a good thing. Something I'm going to ask staff to take a look at. I'd like for us to look at our ordinances for food and event trailers to make sure we're up to date with the growing popularity of food trailers and things that are mobile like that. So we don't want to lose anything that could be here in town that would go to another community. So if we can kind of take a look at some of that and see where we are with that. And finally, I would just like to offer prayers to the Mount St. Mary's community. They lost a student yesterday morning on campus very suddenly. And that's always rough on a college campus. So our thoughts and prayers are with the people at Mount St. Mary's. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Okay, we are now turning to public comments. We have 2 people signed up for public comment. If you are speaking regarding something that is going to be featured on the agenda, you have the opportunity to speak when that time comes, so it's part of the complete record. In the meantime, you'll have 4 minutes when you are called. First, we have Mr. Kevin Hagan. If you could please let us, obviously, state your name and if you live within town limits.
My name's Kevin Hagan. Should know this better. Hey, name's Kevin Hagan and do live town limits. As traditional, I wanted to make a statement as a candidate running. We've come to the last couple years to just tell a little bit about myself. My family and I moved to Emmitsburg nearly a decade ago, and we were drawn here by the warm and friendly spirit of the community and the place the neighbors support each other. Over the past 20 years in the healthcare field, I've learned the importance of listening and responding to the needs of those around me. My wife and I have jumped in and embraced the spirit of service after moving here. My wife became a volunteer EMT for the fire department, and together we joined the Lions Club. And people may have seen us around at various community events where with setting up and announcing and judging the parades, delivering the Christmas food baskets, or picking corn at the community garden. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I had the privilege of volunteering with the Maryland Medical Reserve, collaborating with the Frederick Health Department. This experience has reinforced my commitment to health service during the times of crisis, and it reminds me how vital it is to have a robust support system within our town. Most recently, I co-founded the Emmitsburg Business Alliance, bringing together our local businesses to collaborate and address challenges together. Through these meetings and with commissioners and business owners, we've made strides in creating a more supportive environment for our economic growth. I'm proud to say we've seen some new business open their doors in town, with more on the horizon. My goal as a commissioner will be to continue this supportive partnership with our business and ensuring that we are allies. As a longtime member and current chair of the Planning Commission, I work tirelessly to ensure we navigate the complexities and regulations while always keeping the town's best interests at heart. Together with staff, residents, business owners, we develop a comprehensive plan that sets a clear path forward for Emmitsburg. This plan acknowledges our current strengths and addresses areas where we can improve, reflecting the voices of our community's concerns. And I also wanted to take a minute to express some gratitude to Mayor Davis for appointing a small committee to help us get this rolling for the information there, because it's central to fostering that spirit with the community that may not come to meetings, that they're part of the process. And I'm running for commissioner because I believe the potential of our town, and I want to help us lead forward realizing these goals. Doing that, though, I have to address some pressing issues that weigh heavily on many of our residents' mind. The recent significant increase in water bills is a source of frustration and concern for our community. I understand the impact that these financial burdens have on families, and I want to assure you that I will strive to prevent situations from occurring in the future. My commitment is to work diligently to find ways to offset rising costs and ensure our residents are treated fairly. While we celebrate the improvements our town has made, we also recognize where we stumble. Communication and respect between our residents and local government must be our priority moving forward. And I promise to be the commissioner who listens, engages, and enacts in your best interests. Together, let's build on the strengths of our community, addressing our challenges while embracing opportunities for growth. With the people's support and your vote, we can lead Emmitsburg to a brighter future. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Next up, we have Joe, is it Cece? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to administrative business. We're looking at the first one, presentation and discussion regarding the 2025 farmers market.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so we know we've had some issues with the farmers market in the past, just various reasons. A lot of it, I believe, is our location. A lot of people really don't know Emmitsburg is here. Recently had a conversation with somebody from Tonytown. They didn't know we had a pool. They didn't know we had a farmers market. Our ball fields, the trails, soccer, none of it. And she's lived in Tonytown her entire life. So that being said, we're going to try to make some changes to get folks aware that we're going to be doing this in not just social media. We're going to do more ads and not just our paper. Frederick, Tawnytown, Gettysburg, surrounding. There are several things that we're going to do to get the word out there more. But we also need to kind of help each other out too. So when I start pestering everybody to share on their social media and boost it and come to these things, especially the first one, we really need to show what Emmitsburg is capable of doing. All right. So that being said, what we'd like to do is, instead of a weekly farmers market, we're going to do a monthly farmers market, but make it an event style celebration of family, fun, everything included. So not just produce and the farmers market per se that we've always had. We want to get more vendors for crafts. We also would like to do community yard sales on the same day. So if we can get people to come out to the yard sale, oh, well, let's look at this and maybe buy this. So incorporate that. Also beer garden, games for kids, different activities. And if we do this once a month, minus June, because June will be busy with Heritage Days. But if we do April, May, skip June, July, August, September, October.
Not April though, right?
Did I say April?
Yeah.
No.
No, I'm sorry. Jumping ahead. Starting in May. So May through October minus June. And the first one, we really want to go all out. We're gonna get a band and as I said, the beer garden. And we want to bring back some old fashioned games, sack races, egg tosses, things like that for the kids. Make it fun, old school fun. And, the prizes may be little dime bags of candy and things like that. And I'm completely going off script here. Food trucks and food trucks and food trucks. I've been already reaching out, getting different people involved and explaining the situation to some of the vendors who may not have came here before. Letting them know, excuse me, it's going to be different. And we really want them to come. And it's not just going to be emails. I'm going to be pestering these people to no end. So we're going to get them here. Okay. Even if I have to go down there and you're coming. So we're working on that. And, also we're going to be moving from our local or our original place to the community park. And that way we can have more room for the yard sales, get everything in the area. We'll have the grandstand, more room for the food trucks. And, and back to, I said, every month we're going to have a big thing, an event. So one of the ones, I'm sorry, Mayor Davis, we're renting a dunk tank and we're going to dunk the mayor. You know, you get, yeah, I have to say it in public. So, you know, it's, but things like that. And that'll be a fun one. And, you know, if we, you know, charge $5, you know, 3 balls to, in that any money that we take is going to offset the rental of anything that we do. We want to incorporate moon bounce, touch a truck. We would like to have a canine demonstration with the police. If the kids want to come, their parents are going to bring them. And chances are then they're going to spend some money and get to know Emmitsburg, especially since we're having it over here. For the folks, you know, as my friend who lives in Tawnytown had literally no idea. Where's the pool? People don't know. And this will maybe hopefully help with that. Let's see. I mentioned the beer garden that has been brought up several times. And DJs and just as many food trucks as we can get, just different variety. And also I'm open for suggestions, please. But some of the free things we'd like to do would be, you know, face painting in the games, kids crafts, giveaways, maybe do a 50-50 raffle, anything that we can think of. And special activities that I didn't touch on. Let's see, the dunk booth, touch a truck, possibly zip line, moon bounce. We want to do a strut your mutt dog costume, maybe in the October one, and have a dog costume contest or ugly dog costume, you know, ugly dog contest, which my dogs would win. And I've already spoke to the Wags for Hope people. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that organization. They do programs here in the library and kids can come in and read to the dogs. And they are really excited to come and join us for that. I've reached out to the animal shelter to maybe do a couple adoption days, have them bring, you know, some animals out. So help them out as well. Petting zoo. I'm working on a geocache program for kids in town and maybe introduce it at that time, do demonstrations. We talked about cornhole. And then October, we want to make it like a fall festival, all the fall fun stuff, dunking for apples, chili cook-off. Maybe that's when we can incorporate it then. You know, we'll have a whole year to get it ready to go. And maybe pie eating contest. First do the pie baking contest, all the fun stuff that we just don't do anymore. Bring it all into, you know, once a month. And as far as advertising, you know, the community calendars, flyers and the water bills, bulletin boards. I spoke to some of the churches. They're going to post stuff for me in their buildings. And I'm going to talk to Jubilee, even if we have a little slip, and stick it in their grocery bags as they check out. Just really promote in all sorts of ways, even door to door. We're doing this. Please come out. And again, all newspapers, Facebook events, and our tentative dates, May 17th, we'd like to be the season opener. And that is the one that we really want to have big. Hence, we're going to have a band, all sorts of activities. Because if we show how good that first one is, we're likely to get more vendors who would like to come and more people coming out. So we really need to come together as, you know, the town to really promote. The July 19th would be the July, August 23rd, September 19th, and then finally the Fall Festival on October 17th. Any questions, concerns? Oh, and we're looking at Saturdays to do this on Saturdays. Even if we, we went to Friday, so we wouldn't compete with Thermont on Saturdays. However, Fridays we compete against Fort Ritchie, which has gotten very big. So no matter which day we choose, that's going to be our obstacle. But since we're rebranding this to make it a monthly event, monthly mini festival, I think that we can pull some people, especially when I'm going to advertise ours at the others. Yeah.
What hours?
That is to be determined. We're thinking at the tail end of Thermont. So maybe some of the vendors there, when they get done in Thermont, they might just want to roll here. So we might overlap for an hour or so. But since we're going to have some beer, we don't want to do it too early in the morning. That might, be a problem.
Like 12 to 3.
I think so,
they're about
Kathy.
12 to 3, 12 to 4, 11 to 3, in that kind of time range.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Would you have to change the name of farmers markets?
Yes. And of course,
I know.
I don't have it written down and I can't remember what I named it.
One was Emmitsburg
Yes.
Fun Farm and Family Day. We had like 4 or 5
And I think
names
that's
we were
the-
brainstorming.
And I think that's the one we kind of like. Yeah. The Emmitsburg Fun Farm and Family. Because we want to incorporate the word farm because it's going to help us with the different things that we're, grants we're working on, possibly the Main Street project. So we want to keep that farm in there so people know that it will be produce and a farmer's market, but the fun obviously and family, because that's what we really want to promote. Come out, bring the kids, let's have some fun.
How would this potentially interfere with the youth activities already that we just talked about being in the parks? If the parks are being that widely used now, than they are next year. Are we right in the prime?
Well, this is going to be over. where
If
the
we would
pavilion
be-
Is and the playground and the dog park. So.
I think if we were over, if we did,
Yeah.
the 11 to 3 or noon to 3, most of those activities start later in the day or no?
They vary. They vary. Cliff, you probably got better times on it, but
Sometimes they'll start at
you
8.
need to
The
look.
parks are in the morning. Well, most of the ball games are in the morning.
Okay.
Soccer, that doesn't start to fall, right? Are they playing in the?
Right, yeah, that'd be late summer, but I think it's a different part of the park and hopefully it's good. Hopefully the parks are full and it draws people from the other activities
Correct.
to there. So I think it'll be good.
Okay.
I
And
think
we'll look into
the
some more
school-
logistics.
The school has been gracious enough to allow like Heritage Day to use their field, right?
Right.
Yeah, you just gotta ask permission. You have
Right.
to-
So
Okay.
there would be the overflow there.
And Lions Club President Diane Wahlbecker has the information for that. The Lions
Okay.
Club also has all the game stuff already.
Okay. So Diane,
If you want to, we have a meeting Thursday. If you would like to come to it and ask if they want to do the once
Okay.
a month, you're welcome to do that.
okay.
If overcrowding becomes a problem, I'll fix it. I promise.
Okay.
I want that to be a problem. We'll find a way.
Yes, as do. And, in the following year may be a better, every year we're hoping for it to get better. But I think this is a step in the right direction. Everyone would love to have it weekly, but it has not worked. And it's time to move on from that. I think that's done. So,
I think you have a lot of really great ideas here, and I'm excited
Thank
that you are spearheading it because
Thank
this
you.
is gonna take a lot of work.
that's why I'm starting already.
It's gonna take a
Yeah.
lot of planning, and if you want to touch bases sometime, because as part of Citizens Advisory last year, we looked into a lot of different types of these activities and so we have an idea of vendors or cost or
Okay.
the pitfalls of offering a children's activity free versus a small fee. And that, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty tonight, but I'd be more than happy to share those notes with you.
That would be great.
Yes.
And if anybody has any suggestions, something that their family has done or think they would like, please let me know. Because I really want to make this, or we really want to make this just, family oriented, but also stuff fun for the adults too.
I do think the advertising is going to be key. So getting the word out there. There's a local AM radio station
Oh,
that
yes, we
offered to do
discussed.
it for free. And I think it might be worth a small amount of money to invest in a Facebook ad And it's real easy to do that by turning, you can put how much money you want to
Yeah.
spend on the ads and target.
You boost it
neighborhoods.
and
Yeah, and making the events on Facebook but all the other ideas are great too, but it really needs to be blasted. And if we can get those events so people can click that they're interested and then all their friends see it and then their friends want to attend.
well, and as I've been researching vendors, like I said, I've already been reaching out. And as I'm looking at the different vendors or different like food trucks,
Mhm.
I received a list from Frederick County. So I have a list of everybody who is able to, the food trucks that are in Frederick County. And I've been going to their individual pages, and every time they are going to be at an event, they post it on their page and put it out there like, hey, we're going to be selling. And so I'm really going to be on them as well to be sure any vendors or food trucks, anything to please share on your end. Because if they,
Yeah.
you know, it's going to make them more money as well.
Yes, and when we had food trucks last year, we did have food truck vendors that said to us as a town, you know, we posted this on our page. Did you also do the same? So they do.
Right.
It should be reciprocal. So, and I would be more than willing to share no matter who posts what, just to get the word out. I think it looks fabulous, and the
Okay.
vendors, they were.
Good. I was at the farmer's market this past Friday,
Mhm.
and speaking to them, they all were very receptive. And they agree that, you
Mhm.
know, they would like to make more money. And if they can make more in one day of the month
Mhm.
compared to 4 weeks,
Sure.
you know, that frees up more time for them to go elsewhere.
Sure.
But they were very receptive, and a few seemed very excited.
Okay.
So
Sweet. Thank you. Is this also something that, or maybe it's not appropriate to use our My Emmitsburg app to advertise, or is that really meant for like alerts and?
No, it can be used for that.
emergencies?
It's for events also. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You also
sweet.
have emmitsburgevents.com too.
thank you. Yeah, and as we get closer, obviously we're gonna start the push. But
Yeah.
as I said, I've already started a lot of this legwork because I know it's gonna take some time.
Okay.
And if I keep pestering these people enough,
Sure.
they're just gonna submit.
Do we know what the plan is for the rest of this year's market by any chance? Is it still being promoted, advertised? Are we closing up shop, or how do?
It has been advertised,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure when it runs to, Jess.
First weekend in October, I believe is the last weekend for it.
So there's only a few left. We're not gonna, I don't think it's worth to cancel it. It's already scheduled.
Yeah.
And you know, there were people there
Last
and there were
weekend.
vendors.
Mhm. Might be worth a last ditch effort to try to
Okay.
get a little bit more push out to, there's a couple of vendors who've been there every week.
Yeah,
Bless their heart.
I know.
You know, through the season. But this was very helpful. Commissioners, questions, comments regarding, yes, Commissioner Turnquist.
Yeah, I really love the ideas and the location. I think it would attract people if it's in the park and bring in the kids with the events. So this is fantastic.
Okay, good. Thank you.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. I need
You're
an
ready
assist-
for it, though.
I need an assistant, volunteers.
This was really helpful. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right.
And that reminds me, this was so helpful. Is it possible to add to our agenda a town operations specialist report at our meetings, since we have everybody else that are featured with the updates of what's going on? Because it seems like you're going to have a pulse on those activities, and it might be good to hear updates.
Yeah, I mean, it can go right under, so it's the grant administrator's report. We can put her report under mine, so she doesn't have to come to every meeting.
Sure.
But if there's something important, then obviously she will be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Yeah. Because it
Just
sounds like there's a lot's going on. so
There
might
is,
be
but it's
several.
not just me.
Yeah.
Everyone in the office has been wonderful, and most of these ideas, I mean, Ms. Willits and I have been brainstorming nonstop, so
Sure.
we're knocking this out. And Jess and Sabrina, it's a group effort. It's not me.
Well, no, that's not what I meant. Just an opportunity to share
Yes.
what you, yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Any other
Okay.
questions?
All
Well,
right,
we're
thank
looking
you.
forward to it. Thank you. Next, we have the update on the Red Trail Improvement Projects.
So a complete aside, when the Department of Transportation from the Federal Highway Program gave signs to I-95 communities, is always to advise about traffic problems. Well, the last board in Maine used to advertise lobster feeds. So maybe we can sneak some signage in for the forthcoming updated farmer's market. Okay, aside from that, that was supposed to make you laugh. Come on. Well, it'll be funny at dinner time tomorrow. Just think about it. Okay, so moving forward. I've made multiple site visits to the Red Trail rebuild. I've been in pretty steady contact with the head contractor, Andrew Mueller of Bluestone Trails, Greenstone Trails, excuse me. His estimate, he says 15% of the work is complete on the rebuild of the Red Trail. He feels that they are on track to meet the contract deadline. He attributes much of this to they've been very fortunate with the weather. Their belief is they should be done in spring of 2025. There's a set date. I don't have that written down. I'm sorry. During the site visits, I looked at the quality of the work they've been doing and the actual trail itself, the design they've been putting forward. It is a vast improvement from what we had. The last trail was far more rugged than it needed to be. And this new trail is making it much more user-friendly. So the average trail hiker could use it more comfortably. And also mountain bikers who are trying to attract to town to get them to visit and spend money, as well as here in town. They're more aligned with this type of trail. It has what's referred to as flow, and people are very interested in seeing that flow component. We don't get rid of all the rugged stuff, so it will keep some of its old personality, but we're making it better. Moving from there, we did some volunteer work to be sort of a force multiplier for them. We put in about 25 hours, and the builders, the contractors were very appreciative of it because it expedited their ability to get to the job site. In doing that, they can spend our money through the grant that we've been given much more effectively. As a aside, Annandale Road had been closed. I think many people were aware of the roadblock that was there because of the stormwater management project they were working on. It is now reopened. I am not aware that it's been tested, but the design looks very different from how it had been. So hopefully there won't be water over the road, resulting in closures of the road and therefore better access to the trails. The number one complaints about our trail system, and there have been some for sure, was the, the shutdown of the Red Trail as a result of the closure. No one wants to see any loss of trail, so they're very happy. The feedback I've gotten that we're rebuilding and expanding the trail with this grant funding. People are excited to hear about a parking lot. That's the number two complaint that we've had, that there will be a means by which people can park off of Hampton Valley Road, off the shoulder, and that's a much safer option to use a parking lot. And that's not just from hikers and walkers and mountain bikers, but also from the folks who fish up there, as well as some folks who are hunting up there. The third complaint that we've had is related to signage. I'm trying to get to, well, rather, I found the National Park Standard. They are using new placards to mark the sign, the trailway. Backing up, they're using new wayfinding signs to mark the trails. And I'm trying to get to their contractor. And I don't think that'll be too difficult, but that is in process. So that's basically the Red Trail update and sort of a general overview. As folks know, I am not running for office this time. So my hope is that in the future, this board is affectionate toward the trails as they have been in the past, but also that we move toward expanding the trails. And I will happily share that at a future time with anyone who wants me to bend their ear for 10 minutes, just 10. Okay, and that's it. With that, I conclude this update on the Red Trail rebuild. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the Red Trail? No. Commissioner O'Donnell, hopefully we can count on you to still at least be involved with Parks and Rec Committee.
I would love that opportunity.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Proclamation for making September 2024 Recovery Month for consideration. So we have a proclamation for National Recovery Month. Whereas a recovery from mental and substance abuse disorders, including co-occurring disorders, is an essential part of health and one's overall wellness. And whereas treatment and recovery services for mental and substance abuse disorders and co-occurring disorders is effective. and people can and do recover in our area and around the nation. And whereas addressing and overcoming mental and substance abuse disorders and co-occurring disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles, both physical and emotionally. And whereas 1 in 4 teens report having abused or misused a prescription drug at least once, 4 out of 5 people who use heroin started with recreational use of prescription painkillers. And whereas the town of Emmitsburg offers hope and resources, supports in those active addiction recovery and the loved ones. Whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and substance abuse disorders and occurring disorders to implement preventative measures, recognize signs of a problem, and encourage those in need to seek help and appropriate treatment and recovery support services by either calling 911 for medical emergencies, by calling 211 to start the recovery process, to get Narcan training, and encourage your community to get Purple certified. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and the Board of Commissioners of the town of Emmitsburg, Maryland, do hereby proclaim the month of September as National Recovery Month and call upon all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, medical facilities, and businesses to go purple and bring awareness and understanding of mental health and substance use disorders, and to celebrate those living in recovery. Will be adopted this 9th day of September 2024. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're looking at me like
I make a motion to accept.
oh, yes, thank you. Is there a motion to accept? I knew I was missing something, Commissioner O'Donnell.
No worries.
Is there a motion to accept the proclamation as stated?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to the treasurer's report.
Our cash balance as of August 1st, 2024 was $9,606,895. We had deposits in the amount of $834,728. Withdrawals, $1,144,801. Operating balance forward, $9,296,822. Our top 10 checks there are in the middle of the page, with the largest being for the Creamery Road Pump Station. Our actual fund breakdown as of August 28th, the general fund has 1.9 million. Capital projects, 752,000. Our water fund, 268,000. ARPA funding, 2.6 million. Our sewer fund, 3.6 million, for a total balance of $9,267,521.
Thank you. Questions, comments regarding the report?
The Planning Commission report, as it was stated earlier, we have a meeting tomorrow night to talk about a text amendment for student housing in the village zone. And then our next meeting, September 30, for the comp plan.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments regarding the Planning Commission report? Okay, hearing none, we are moving on. Agenda item number 1 for consideration, approval of declaration for establishment and maintenance of stormwater management area related to the Rainbow Lake parking lot project.
Hi. So as you know that we've been working on a 10th space asphalt parking adjacent to the Rainbow Lake. If you're gonna go to the next slide so you can see the improvement plan for context. And so this plan was approved in May of this year. Since the area of disturbance is over 5,000 square feet, a stormwater management plan is needed. The county requires that a stormwater deed of easement is recorded for a grading permit. So I want to go to the next slide. These are the pages related to the stormwater management. And what you have in front of you is a declaration for the establishment and maintenance of stormwater management area. Since the entire area is owned by the town, but basically this document gives the town or the county the right to manage stormwater facilities on property if this property is ever transferred to a different owner. This document was produced by the town attorney, and approval of this document by the board is necessary for moving on to the next step of the project. If you have any questions, our town attorney is here.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Turnquist?
So the stormwater management plan is required because we're putting in the parking lot.
Correct.
And this, putting in this plan will count towards our MS4 permit. It won't.
Mm,
The maintenance of the stormwater.
No, it does not.
You might get it down the road, but not now. Right?
Right.
As a new project, you won't get it.
And then what will the cost be for? I mean, will it require maintenance, a maintenance contract like some of our other stormwater?
So the county handles stormwater maintenance. That's the reason that we have to do this, is the county provides this maintenance for us, and they want to make sure that in the event it ever gets transferred, they will still have the right to come in and do what they need to do to maintain the stormwater management facilities on the property.
Is that correct? The county's gonna maintain the stormwater management bond? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Oh,
Yeah, that's fine. This is Joe Cece. He's the engineer of the project. Might be able to answer those questions.
Thank you.
I'm reading the wrong email.
I'm Joe Cece with Fox and Associates. We did those plans. Actually, I'm here for another project tonight, but no, the town maintains the stormwater facility. The county has to inspect it every 2 years, 2 or 3 years, I think it is. So the county has to report to MDE, so they need access to it. That's what the easement's for.
That is correct.
That makes more sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cece. Commissioner Turnquist, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thought process is, I think we need the parking lot. It's a great idea, but now it seems like to put the parking lot in, we now have to put in this stormwater management facility, which is gonna cost additional money.
It's actually already in the cost of the project. When it was
To
bid
maintain it, the
to
town has to
maintain it. It's a
maintain
minimal cost initially, for the first, 25 years? Yeah. But yeah, the cost of building it is already included in the price of the parking lot.
Mhm.
So there is a, there is a fund source that is available grant wise that would help maintain that. And that's through a mountain biking organization called MORE, where if it supports the program of mountain biking, there could be funds available through this grant program. If that is your major concern, I'll offer this, that what we're also paying for is something that's much safer than parking on the shoulder of the road. And through the years, we've had multiple people come in and complain about this. Folks who are in town, folks who are out of town. And this has been a complaint that's been going on since before the trails for access to Rainbow Lake and fishing there. So it is connected to a safety piece also, that if we have that parking lot, it is certainly much safer. And you have to remember that the trails aren't the only user up there, and the trails don't use the land for a big chunk of the year because of the hunting seasons. So it's not just the trails who are bearing the burden of this cause, but it's, you know, multiple users.
Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that we don't do it. I just want to understand the scope of the project and the requirements.
Thank you. Additional questions? Comments? No? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the declaration for the establishment of the maintenance of stormwater management area related to the Rainbow Lake parking lot project?
I make a motion to accept the declaration for establishment and maintenance of stormwater management area.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. So motion was made by Commissioner O'Donnell, seconded by Commissioner Hoover. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item number 2, approval of bid for the fabrication and installation of new welcome to Emmitsburg signs for consideration.
Good evening. This is agenda item number 2 on page 49. So the welcome sign design and fabrication and installation bid is for the design, fabrication, and installation of 4 new 50-inch by 84-inch welcome to Emmitsburg signs at the 4 main roadways into Emmitsburg that would be along North Seaton, South Seaton, East and West Main Street. The bid packet requested 2 pricing options, a single-sided sign and a double-sided sign. The single-sided sign would have welcome to Emmitsburg, established 1785, National Register of Historic Places. And the double-sided sign would have an additional sign that says, "Thank you for visiting the town of Emmitsburg, Maryland," on the side when leaving town. Fabrication would include breakaway bases to reduce damage to signs if struck by a vehicle. I currently think we just have one of the signs that we initially had going into town, so I know this is needed. The timeline on August 5th, the request for proposal was published with bids due August 26th. Excuse me, that was for questions, with bids due August 28th by 4 p.m. The bids are open on August 29th by Mayor Davis, Ms. Willits, myself, and Mr. Click. And tonight the bids are coming before the board. They were advertised as required per the town code, and the funding for the project. We have 2 grants, each for $10,000. And then in Fund 2, we currently have $35,000 for a total of $55,000 available to purchase the 4 signs. On the following page, page 51, you can see the different bids we received. We had 4 total. Town staff is recommending the CAM Printing LLC, which is doing business as Strategic Factory. We liked their design, and then their price was also within budget. I have pictures of the signs up on the slideshow. So this was the blink signs. You can keep going. And then that would be the double-sided option. This was another option they had, sorry. Thank you. That one, so that was the double-sided option. Next slide, please. That was an option just to have like gold embellishments on the sign. Next slide, please. That was single-sided for express signs. There was a black option, and then next one, please. A red option with white lettering. Next slide, please. Oh, that was the double-sided of the, so same thing, just "Thank you for visiting" on the other side. Next slide, please. Same thing, just with the "Thank you for visiting." And then this was Shannonbaum. Side note, they also did Emmitsburg or Thurmont's welcome sign, excuse me. And so that's their welcome side and the "Thank you for visiting." And then this was Strategic Factory. The sizing of the sign isn't to how the actual specs are on the slide. It kind of got distorted, so it would actually be wider, but this was the one that town staff recommended. It's also hard to see because I scanned in the images that the sign is not black. It's actually navy blue with white lettering. And then I should add that all the signs, the bid packet, they're going to be layered, so the letter's actually going to protrude out from the sign. And then for the permit that we need from State Highway to install the signs, they're required to be visible during the day and night, so they will have reflective vinyl lettering also. And I think, oh, and those were the approximate locations for placement, which are tentative for SHA approval. Is there any questions?
That's generally the same places one is and three were.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Are those spots really visible? South Seaton would be, and maybe East Main would be visible to see the backside of the signs. North Seaton and I guess West Main is. I'm just trying to think of the value of the double sided. Is the backside going to be visible from where the locations will be?
Can we see the map again? I'm sorry. While we discuss, that was helpful. Go ahead.
So as long as there's no sense spending the money on the back if we can't see the back when we're driving down. So I just want to make sure that, like I say, South Seaton will be, West Main will be. The other two are questionable for me. I'm sitting here thinking. See the backside. I like both front and back, but as long as we can see it.
The cost for the KM printing, it says here a single, it has the price for single and the price for double. Does that include all, I assume all the signs and not per sign?
Correct. The bid price listed is for all 4 signs.
All 4 signs. Okay.
And you can see a note on the table. They actually recommended doing a 4x8 foot size. So it'd be like the standard size of a piece of plywood. And there was a slight cost savings if the board decides to go that route.
Okay.
I noticed that. I like that.
And the 4x8 size is cheaper.
Right.
Because the bid price was 50 inches. Correct? The bid price was 50 inches, so you're just 2 inches over a sheet of plywood. And that's why you're saving money.
So does KM's bid strategic factory include installation? Because I don't see that here.
Yes, includes installation.
Okay.
And it does include the removal of the signs as well, right? Which Shannon Baum did not.
Right.
I saw the one sign was in cursive. We can't do that because kids nowadays won't be able to read that. So make
I
sure we
think
just
there were
have.
some adults as well. They haven't been teaching that for years. I understand. Any questions, comments regarding the signs? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the bid for the signs? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for KM Printing LLC to print the 4 foot by 8 foot double-sided signs at the price listed, $33,160.
I second it.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Nope.
Madeline, that was the correct number, right? You looked at me like it was, when I read it all. Okay.
All right,
I'm good.
all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
It'd be nice to have some new signs.
Oh, will.
Agenda item number 3, approval of ordinance 24-08, amending town code 10.12.101, reserve parking for recharging plug-in electric drive vehicles for consideration.
Mr. Mayor, you want me to take it? Okay. Basically, this was a request from Mayor Davis as he had received some phone calls about extending the time that vehicles were allowed to park at the charging stations. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the charging stations have become very busy lately, so it's become more competitive. Sabrina did some research and we just made 2 changes. We took out letter D that had the time from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And we added letter F, charging stations shall be available 24 hours a day for plug-in electric drive vehicles. However, the max charging time is still 6 consecutive hours, except for the town of Emmitsburg's fleet vehicle. So there's the only two change. Doesn't make it open 24 hours.
I have a question regarding that. With it being open 24 hours, but they can only park there 6 hours, that's going to be really hard to enforce. Because if somebody parks their car there at 8 PM, I can't see them getting up in the middle of the night to get it 6 hours later.
It was even at 10 PM, it still wasn't, from 10 PM to 6 AM, we couldn't really enforce it
Right,
anyway.
right.
So it's more of the honor system and the time limit more for 6 hours is more for during the day.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because one thing that I've noticed with those spots getting more popular, it's definitely being used by people who live close by, within walking distance, which is great because people are buying more electric cars, but at the same time, I would hate for it to become monopolized by a select few and to get other people in town equitable access. And I know it's first come, first serve.
To get to 6 hours, can you program the system to only charge up for 6 hours? After 6 hours, it shuts down?
I don't think so. No. I think it shuts down, but you could still leave your car plugged in.
Well,
and
I
sitting
get
there.
that, but they get no value out of it. Is what I'm trying.
Right. There's no value after it's fully charged. There's no value in it
Yeah.
anymore.
What I've noticed is that it seems like a couple of them are just kind of parked there. It becomes like a driveway. For a couple of them that don't seem to move. So I am interested if we move forward with this, that we do have turnover to get others in.
Are we getting complaints that they can't get their car in there?
Uh,
That's the issue.
No, other than they weren't supposed to be there after 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And with the new camera system out back,
Mhm.
we can monitor that.
That's
So we'll have Andrew keep an eye on that. If we have people that are parking there when they get home from work and not getting until the next morning, we'll get them.
That's correct. I forgot.
And it's not that I'm looking to ticket people. It's just that I know that the demand for electric cars might continue to grow and we only have so many spots. And I'm just looking ahead as far as
I agree.
what precedent are we setting?
What
So,
what is
Don't
it, 2
charge
spots?
for ours either.
4.
4.
That's one thing too.
Yeah,
We do not charge for electric stations out here.
Correct. We do not.
We do not?
No.
What do we pay a
the
month
bigger the
for
issue.
those?
Yeah, Commissioner Bowman Pollitt asked me that today, and unfortunately Kim was out today, so I didn't get the actual amount that we pay monthly for those, but I'll get it from her. She'll be back Thursday. I'll send an email out.
And I know our original maintenance contract was supposed to be for 5 years, which would have been up. So did we extend that?
No,
So there's
It
no
ex-
maintenance contract?
not anymore. No, it expired June of last year.
Yeah, I'm curious how much the town pays for those every month.
We don't pay anything for the electric we pay for,
electric.
but we haven't had any maintenance issues as of yet. We'll see.
More.
I know.
Yeah, out loud at least.
I know.
so these are not solar powered, correct? I heard a rumor that they were. That's not correct.
Sort of.
Did they
They're
get
not
added
ever
to the
hooked to our
solar
solar
account?
power.
They
They're,
did.
they're
So
on that
they,
account.
right,
Yes.
they got added to the solar account. So, it is.
So the
solar.
money's coming out of the solar account.
Right.
I see. All right.
So yeah, what you'd have to take is take the electric bills for those 4 chargers or for the system and then count it against the solar to get the actual cost. So when Kim comes back, I can get you an estimated monthly. It definitely has gone up since they were first installed because initially they were used, but not to the extent they are now.
Right.
Right.
Right. And that's something that I was really hoping to have tonight, just so that for a basis of what are we paying for these monthly, to let them stay overnight.
Not that I'm asking we do it tonight, but the system is set up that it can take a credit card though. Is that correct? It's just not
Yes,
activated.
correct.
I think that's something we need to look into in the future that might control your 6 hour issue better.
Right, absolutely. And that's, if that's something the board wants to do, I'll put all the numbers together
we
and
should
then
look
I'll
on that.
email everybody. And then if we want to make it an agenda item, it certainly can come back.
Yeah, let's try to look and see if we can get a cost on, maybe we're talking about pennies.
It could be,
You know,
that's
let's-
right.
Let's see what we
Could be a
get.
moot point,
But that also helps with the police and folks.
right? But yeah,
MDOT done the same thing. It was free for a long time, but to get everybody to start using them,
right.
and then it didn't.
I don't know if it weighs in our considerations here, but one of the issues I've been reading about regarding travel with the holiday season for electric car drivers is finding charging stations that are accessible and that are not more or less locked in with somebody there. So we're kind of addressing that issue, but we are on national maps for EV use. So people, it does generate visits for us, though not funds. Now, the downside is, John, Paul, George, and Ringo out there are next to a building that doesn't charge anything unless you're coming to the library and you're getting a soda in the hallway here. So we're not near retail, but maybe if we do future charging stations, if that opportunity floats up again, I would maybe ask the board to consider putting it near a retail site. So that way you have a trapped customer, and whether fair or unfair, I think it might be a bonus for us.
Yeah, I do know Jubilee was looking at putting some out there. They've been approached by companies that want to put them in to make money off of them. So
Mhm.
maybe somebody will do that for us.
We might want to look into the power company. They are putting them in for free. They put them in for free because they're just trying to lessen the load on the system. And they're putting them in for free and maintain them. Take care of all the service.
Who's putting them in for free? I'm sorry.
Power companies.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
That way they take some load off the grid.
Right. Right.
So,
Okay.
'cause they're doing solar system.
And any other questions, comments, discussion?
Mm-mm.
I would like to ask that we can come back, not to table this, but come back and with the numbers at our next meeting so that we can decide if we want to move forward with pursuing credit card or not. Because I do think that's an important piece of the puzzle that we don't have right now. Having said that, is there a motion to,
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance number 24-08. Entitled Vehicles and Traffic for Electric Car Charging.
Second.
thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item number 4 for discussion, rejection or reject the proposed dedication of open space in the Brookfield subdivision as stated on final plats recorded in book 71, pages 134, 136, and 142, and book 58, pages 41.
So what you're gonna see shortly are 4 open spaces within the Brookfield subdivision that were intended to be dedicated to the town. So if you want to go to the next slide. That's one of them, marked an X. Next slide. It's another one, marked an X. And then another one, and another one. So we searched all our records, but couldn't conclude whether the dedications were ever done. So to clear up any confusion, this resolution prepared by the town attorney has been it's been prepared to treat the lots as they were dedicated and that the town finds no public use and instructs the mayor to take any steps necessary to clear up this confusion in the land records. If you have any questions, our town attorney is here to answer them.
And I'll endeavor not to create more confusion with my explanation for this one.
We'll see. So if I understand this correctly, then we have open space land within the development. And on top of that, we have additional land was originally earmarked for open space that we did not use.
That's correct.
So we have a duplication of open spaces. One we're utilizing with the X's. And then the other one with all the lot numbers that you gave us is what we,
No,
No,
the X's are the open spaces
Is the
that
actual-
were to be dedicated on on each of these plats.
Okay.
It says to be dedicated to the town.
let me get back to my maps here then.
So the X properties are what we're talking about.
So they were never transferred to the town.
We can't find a record of it, and this is not an uncommon problem with local government and dedications that are to be dedicated. I've run across this on several occasions in several municipalities on both sides of the ledger, and it just does create confusion. It's possible they were accepted. It's possible that they never were. There's nothing in land records to indicate that they were or weren't. There's nothing in the town records that staff could find to sway things one way or
Who
another.
holds the deed
Well, so
for those individual lots with the X?
that would be the original developer, is that
Is that
would
Dominic?
still,
Dominic?
in the absence of a recorded deed, the original developer would still hold that. But again, we also have a recorded plat that says to be dedicated. It just creates a gray area where a gray area doesn't need to exist. And my understanding, town planner might speak to this, is that the HOA wants to take back.
yeah, they want the lots. Yeah, to be transferred to them, yes.
Do we, is that like an official letter where they wrote to us and said, we want these lots? Because I understand this was a source of contention over the years as far as whether or not the lots were wanting to be absorbed or not. So,
It was more of with the homeowners association and the owner of the lots, a developer. And that has all been cleared up, and now the developer is willing to turn them over to the homeowners association if we.
right,
make-
so the HOA wants them.
Yes.
They
yes,
do.
yes.
Okay.
I met with the HOA months ago at Dunkin' Donuts, and they bought the coffee.
Oh,
How about that? huh?
well, if it's over donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just checking. And then in the blurb on page 55, let me go down where it says in the italicized section, the second sentence, the Brookfield HOA now wishes to have these lots transferred to them by the developer. Okay, never mind, Richard Dement. Transfer. So when you say it was intended to be dedicated to the town, was that somewhere recorded that we were referencing or what? And it just never happened? Because I'm confused as to why it would say,
As to why the
Intended-
plat would say to be dedicated.
yeah,
I can't speak to it because I wasn't there. It very well
Yeah.
could have been that at the time that was a requirement for the developer.
I
You
was
know,
there.
You were there.
Well, I mean,
Another mess you got us into.
no, so this would have been, this plat would have been approved in the, late eighties, early nineties.
90s, I believe.
96.
And then that would have been, that, because they held on to this development, same as Pembroke, but Pembroke changed theirs. They held on to this development, then we finally have developed it in the early 2000s, I think it was. But this is an old review, or an old approved plot. But the code requires each developer to provide X number of, acres, square foot or whatever
Right.
towards open space. So, but what I'm still not understanding though, if the X is what we're talking about, and in this photo, then what is lot 123, 124, 125, 126? The 4 lots above the X. Because what I'm reading in here is that's the ones that were,
So that is actually just referring to the titles of the plats. We're not rejecting those lot numbers. That is a reference to the recorded plats via a plat titled. See how in the
yeah.
right corner?
oh, okay. I'm glad you clarified that because I was looking at it the same way.
Those are actual homes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I was like, we had a lot of empty lots.
Okay, so then by giving up the X,
Mhm.
then there is no open space town open space required from the developer at all within that development.
Correct.
So a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm not good with that.
So if when the HOA were to come to possess those lots, what uses could be made of them? Is it required that they remain in open space?
It's up to town zoning.
I believe that they are required to keep them as open space.
Okay, so that's a mandate required. So we couldn't see the HOA like develop them in any way.
It's up to town zoning,
Okay.
as long as the town doesn't change the zoning.
Right, and
On the road-
my
on the road.
understanding is that they're required to have a certain amount of open space in this development, and those were 4 lots that are supposed to be open space.
Okay, so there's an obligation on the HOA to maintain those as open space.
It's my understanding,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Should the town convey that land to the HOA, are there any risks to the town?
No.
Is there any harm that could come from this?
No, I mean, again, it's arguable that the town never took possession of them in the first instance, and that's,
So let me rephrase then. So if we reject accepting this,
Mhm.
is there any harm that could come to the town?
none that we can foresee, no.
Okay. By rejecting it, do we assume any obligation for preceding maintenance between the development of the community and, for example, grass cutting or something akin to that?
No, we do not.
We have no obligations.
No.
Okay. So, all right. So therefore, by rejecting it, we have the opportunity to turn this over to the community. It stays open space. The town has no obligation to maintain this land. The town's obligation is to maintain that or to enforce the code or the requirement that the parcel remains open space.
Yes.
That's our obligation at this time.
Yes, just like in any other privately owned property in the town.
Terrific. Okay. Thank you.
So is it a matter of we're just fighting over who's going to cut the grass, is what it seems like? Who's going to maintain the land? Not because if they can't do anything with it, I'm just wondering why the HOA would want it if all they would have to pay for is cutting the grass, or is it that they want?
Homes don't pay for cutting the grass.
Right, exactly.
Having open space adds value to the properties.
It could be recreational, so it doesn't have to stay just plain grass. They
Okay.
could put a playground, they could do a basketball court, they could do something recreational
I
with
see.
it.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so the difference would be is Northgate has no park.
Mhm.
That park is a private park. They did not do the open space at Northgate. So this would be the same. It would, if they'd done a recreation, they could make it a private park.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And if we don't accept this, then legally, would it come back to us? And then we would be responsible for mowing the grass and doing,
It's an interesting legal question. It is possible.
I'll call our attorney tomorrow.
It would come back. Well, but the land wouldn't have been dedicated to us usually till the development's done. And Joe can help me if I'm wrong here, but so since the development has taken two decades, 3 decades to get this far. But we wouldn't necessarily have to take ownership of that until development is done. So we're really not, to me, we're not late and we're not early to the game to get to who's going to dedicate this land. But to me, I think the town ordinance is clear that we're required that developer to provide the town with that open space.
Which he did. We're just not going to accept it if that's the way, that's,
Is the development done? Just backing up to that piece.
It's not done.
Is Brookfield complete and we've just added to it, or is Brookfield now incomplete because we've added to it and therefore there will be new home sites at the bottom of the hill,
There are
at the bottom
10
of Timberland
Still
Road?
10
There's
lots.
10
10
houses,
lots that are
10
not,
lots out front.
done, yeah.
Fair enough. Yep, you're right. I'm sorry. I totally forgot that. Okay, so I guess that puts me in the dunk tank.
Now I have a question too. Is the storm drain management part of that open space?
Yes,
They have a big,
it is.
okay. So they will be in charge of the maintenance on all that storm drain.
Well, that's theirs anyway, but that is within the
Open space.
open space.
So if we took it over, we'd have to maintain it.
No,
No,
No.
no, I don't think so. That's the stormwater management plan.
right.
I agree with that.
For me, I would just like to get better clarity on the town ordinance as it was written, at least back then when this was approved. I believe the town ordinance requires the developer to donate to the town, or the developer donate the land to the town, or to give the town X number of dollars. So the developer will be on the hook to pay us for what land he does not give us.
Correct.
Unless that ordinance has been changed, which I doubt, but it may have been.
It may have been, and I don't know that.
So if we're not going to take the land, then we should take the money from the developer. And the developer can do what he wants with the land. But per the ordinance. the
What are,
town-
what are we gonna do with it? I mean, it's like having a dog with no legs. What are we gonna do with it?
No, the money, he's taking the money for the land and then using the money
But-
for
but-
wherever
but-
he needed for.
But you can't, but you can't ignore the town ordinance. The town ordinance says that he has to develop, give that to the town, or give X dollars. I don't know what the price range is.
I don't know what it says. If it says that, I still think it's within the town's purview to reject the dedication.
Say it again.
I still believe it's within the town's purview to reject the dedication.
Well, if we don't take that, if we just say, no, we don't want those lots, then because we want something better. But he's still gonna owe us, per the ordinance, he's gonna owe a fee. If we don't, if we just, the town orders don't give us the right to forego the option of both, no money and no land.
I don't know that that's the case.
Is that what the ordinance said back in 96?
Yes.
Because I couldn't
Uh,
find
well,
it anywhere.
It's what, I know that's what it says. I don't know, I can't tell you the date of the ordinance was written.
Well, does the ordinance say that there has to be so much open space for each plan, or that open space or does that open space have to be given to the town? Or does the open space just have to be part of the plans? I don't recall the town getting space from other properties. Did they get space from like Southgate or Northgate or?
No.
They either get space,
No.
supposed to
Or-
get space or money. Now, like I say, Northgate was built, and I don't think the ordinance said that then when Northgate was done. I don't think. I wasn't here when Northgate was done.
But yes, each development's required to have a certain amount of open space, like Emmett Ridge too, they would be required to have a certain amount of open space. Southgate, you have some open space where
Do we?
your stormwater pond is.
I mean, you
Right?
could walk around that little
Sorry.
tiny sliver.
No, it's okay. Yeah. But no, certain
Right.
developments of a certain size are required to have open space.
Ours is
Um,
very small, so that. may
I
be-
mean, are you thinking of fee and lieu as far as tree plantings are concerned? Because I don't know about the money for open space lots. I mean, we have the fee and lieu, and that's as far as trees are concerned.
No, there's a fee in lieu of the open space.
I don't-
And I don't know what the per acreage land was. I see Joe shaking his head.
But if he was,
But there's a fee in lieu so that, and what is this? I think it was a total of 2 or 3 acres or something, roughly.
but if the intent was to dedicate it to us and we reject it, so like he's saying, here you go, and that's per the code, and we say, no, thank you, would we have the right to then charge him for it?
We have to tell him what our rejection means. We have to tell him, but
Well, if I would be
No,
that
you're-
property owner, I would say, no, thank you. You know, Here, either take the land or I'm not gonna pay you not to take it.
well, it's like when Solid Hill dedicated its open space. They dedicated the land over the hill there. That was unusable. And that was the land they wanted to give to the town. The town wound up accepting it, but then turned around buying 4 or 6 or 10 townhouse lots. And that's how they built the park. Solid Hill.
So theoretically, if
So
we,
they
if
bought it
we,
twice.
So if I can jump in, and
Yeah, okay.
I'm just looking at the current code section. Are you looking at it? So it looks to me, again, I'm just reading this as I'm standing up here. The options are provide the parkland, dedicate the parkland, pay a fee in lieu, or it looks to me like they can offer it, the town rejects it, and then it becomes private park. I think the fee in lieu would apply if there was just no park, period.
But this says any developer who after January 11th, 2021.
Agreed. This is not,
Right.
I can't speak to what the ordinance said then.
Yeah, my memory ain't that good.
Darn.
So what you're saying is the ordinance today now says if he offers it and we wait this late in the game, so to speak, and we reject it, then that would just become private park.
My quick and dirty read of that as I stand in front of you.
And I think we have, the homeowners are willing to take it. They want it. I think we should,
From the homeowner association perspective.
yes.
If it's outlined in the, well, no, that was for 2021 and after, sorry. I mean, are we able to put the stipulation on it if we reject it and it goes back to the HOA that it becomes like,
I think if the developer has his way, it's either gonna take this land or nothing. If I was him, that's what I'd tell you. You either take it or you reject it, but I'm not paying you no more money.
right,
If I was the developer, that's what I would say. In
right.
this case,
I don't see him paying us
it's,
money.
it's,
I
it
see,
ain't like he's brand new to the game when 20 years ago building here.
right.
He did his due diligence. He provided land for us and during the plot plan, we accepted that space,
Right.
at least on paper. We just didn't finish it.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Do you want to reject the land? Do you want to table and have further discussion?
Well, this is a discussion item?
Yeah.
Correct? I thought so.
Discussion, approval, rejection,
Oh,
whatever, I guess.
So we're okay without a vote, I believe, at the moment.
Oh, for
for
discussion,
discussion.
reject. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Not that I'm
It says for-
kicking the can down the road to the next
Yeah,
board.
that's true.
but
Oh,
It says for discussion.
I mean, maybe a straw poll if that's what you're interested in.
Did the town want to vote on this tonight?
oh,
Well, unfortunately, the way the agenda title is written, you can't vote.
You can't vote on it.
It was
discussion only.
supposed to be an action item. And then we went back and forth whether or not it was going to be discussion only. And then it was changed where it could have been a vote action item. And it does not appear that that got changed in the agenda packet.
Well, if we agree, we can amend the agenda and vote on it.
That's true.
This is true.
Is everybody ready to move forward with it? And take a vote?
I'm not sure I'm ready to amend the agenda item though.
Yeah, that's,
Do you want me to make a motion to amend the agenda item to include a vote?
my concern is, again, transparency and
Right.
opportunity for folks to weigh in. I mean, my personal feeling is I think we should reject it and give it to the HOA. That's my personal feeling. But
So,
my
I'm
concern is,
sorry.
my concern is process that we've advertised this as a discussion item.
Mhm.
And I think that has been our intent and what we've advertised. So
May I interject that
Ma'am.
actually on the website, it is correct. It is on here as for consideration.
so we have latitude.
Right.
Is that accurate?
So where it's advertised, it says for consideration.
Yeah, so it's advertised on the website?
Yep.
Okay.
Then you could
Okay,
go.
so then we do have the
Then you gotta
opportunity, it would
go.
seem.
If it was advertised as for consideration, then I would
Yeah.
say you can consider it.
Okay. So is there a motion to reject the proposed dedication of the open space?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, comments, or questions?
Confirming this is what the HOA desires, correct? Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All against?
Nay,
Any abstention?
I'll vote yay.
Okay, so that's 4 in favor, 1 against with Commissioner Hoover. Motion passes 4-0, or 4-1, I'm sorry. Number 5, for consideration, approval of a 25-year revertible forest conservation deed of easement with the Daughters of Charity and authorize the mayor to sign on behalf of the town.
So this is for the one of the tree planting projects that the town is doing with the Daughters of Charity with the help of Streamlink. I'm gonna go to the next page or next slide. This is the survey that goes with the easement, which is a standard easement similar to what's been done with tree planting projects in the past. So what you see is a 21-acre easement where the plantings are allowed, and that narrow path that says future road right of way is the space for a future road, as was contemplated by the last comprehensive plan. But now that we're updating that comprehensive plan, that road will still be included in the road boundary and the classification will be established, but we won't know the exact location of the road until a traffic study or any other necessary assessment is done. So to make sure that there's a means of future adjustments, the deed of easement has been written in a way to allow flexibility with the location of the road. And any plants that come down during construction will have to be replanted. And this is a necessary component of the project that's gonna start in October. I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, so as the town planner said, this is a standard MS4 credit pro easement with the twist of there's some added language to allow that to the extent that road comes in the future and we need to move essentially pieces of the easement. And again, anything that comes out gets added equally on this property. So that's what this does. And that's what makes it a bit unique. The other thing that makes it a bit unique is it's come to the town's attention in working with Streamlink and the Daughters of Charity that Streamlink and the Daughters actually have a landowner agreement for this project. And the landowner agreement says that thou shalt not touch the trees. Streamlink and the Daughters are willing to amend that agreement. Streamlink is just trying to get approval from their grant people to make sure that that's okay. They expect that it is. I would not recommend going forward with this easement unless that underlying agreement gets amended in that way, because I don't want there to be a situation in the future where Daughters of Charity is in a position where our easement says we can move it. They have this other agreement with Streamlink that says we can't move it. That's going to be a lot of waste of time and money for everyone trying to figure that out. So what I would put before the board tonight is if you're going to approve this easement, I would approve it subject to the condition that the agreement between Streamlink and Daughters of Charity is amended to permit the trees be located in the event trees be relocated in the event necessary pursuant to this easement.
Was that already in here that I read?
So yes, it's
Okay.
it is in the easement, giving us the flexibility to move if necessary.
Yes.
What I would just say, because the agreement between Daughters and Streamlink is separate from us, we don't have any control over it. Again, there are partners in this. They've indicated we're going to get this done,
Sure.
but I want to get that done before this gets recorded. Because if something falls through, if a grant is going to be implicated as a result of that change, I want us to be able to reevaluate and take stock at that time.
So it addresses it between us and the Daughters.
Yes, this
And
is us and Daughters.
You want to make sure that
Yes,
this is only approved on the condition that the Daughters and
Streamlink.
Streamlink.
Yes,
Also use the same term.
yes,
Makes sense.
So we can approve this tonight with that condition.
yes.
With that
With
condition.
With that condition, I think that's the appropriate way forward. Because again, Streamlink is, they want to get planning before October 1, and
Oh,
we want to do that. We think we can do that. I don't foresee there being many complications in
okay.
meeting that condition. to get their agreement amended, but
Okay. Okay,
I don't want to put the cart before the horse here.
understood.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, wait, I have a question. Don't hate me. Looking at the two little slivers that are on the edge of where the connector road might be, does that butt up to existing trees? It's just a very odd shape. So I wasn't sure how, because I can see the little, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. So does that go right up against the tree line? Because I know there's the creek.
So we try to like maximize the amount of space we can
Mhm.
get to make it 21 acres.
Oh, I see.
So like sliver of space there. So no plants are coming down. It's whatever you see, there's like nothing there, or like it's plantable area. I guess.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And is there any chance that some of those trees from Streamlink could be evergreen because it could potentially create a buffer for sound if that connector road goes in?
Oh, that's
I think they
That's-
plant whatever they've
yeah.
got. They've already ordered their trees. Historically, they've been,
well, evergreen usually. Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah.
Evergreen or
mm-mm,
no?
this,
Deciduous.
sorry.
Just trying to think of the word.
Hardwood.
Yeah.
Hardwood. There you go.
Okay. All right.
However, if there's approval at some future time to allow a road to go through there, there's a high probability that trees will be removed.
Mhm.
And at that time, it would be wise perhaps for the board to ask for that consideration.
Thank you. That is a good point. Okay. Any further questions? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we would give conditional acceptance to the 25-year revertible forest conservation deed between the Daughters of Charity and the town of Emmitsburg, and giving the mayor the opportunity or the authority to sign on behalf of the town of Emmitsburg. The condition being that the Daughters of Charity and their
And Streamlink.
partner, Streamlink also agree that the trees, if necessary, can be relocated when and if needed.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on, discussion related to tap fees for Christ Community Church. So, Mr. Cece, is this at the point you wanted to come and for your public comment? Sure. Thank you.
I'm Joe Cece with Fox and Associates. Turn this on. I'm Joe Cece with Fox and Associates. I'm the project engineer for the Christ Community Church. Also with me is Kevin Neer, who is the project architect. He's with Profit and Associates. So I know there's been some discussion with the board members from Pastor John about the tap fees for this project. And Pastor John couldn't be here tonight. He's out of town, had a trip planned for before this meeting, I think was scheduled. What we're looking at is the tap fees, water and sewer tap fees have been calculated to be $164,000 for this project. That's about 8% of their construction budget. So what we were looking at was a reduction in these fees. I think there is what he wants to request. The impact fees or the tap fees for a church, their water usage compared to a lot of other uses is very minimal. And what we're looking at is on the first page of this, I put in here, they're at 198 seats for their, is what they're approved for right now. That would be a full capacity on a Sunday. And they have other times that they use the church very minimally. Tuesdays, they have about 20 people right now that use the church. Wednesdays, about 35 people. The second and fourth Friday, they have a meeting. There's about 20 people, and one Saturday a month. So these are just the approximate numbers of people that use the church as it is now. And I guess the impact fees are very out of the ordinary from what we normally see for the amount of use or the amount of impact that the church will have on the water and sewer system. We did a comparison. So the town of Emmitsburg, the tap fees were calculated to be $164,000. We looked at the town of Thurmont. They have impact fees and connection fees, which would amount to be $39,000, $39,705. The city of Frederick, so this is if you built the same church in these other jurisdictions. The city of Frederick impact fees would be about $32,000. And Frederick County, their water and sewer impact fees would be about $25,000. And those, the way I calculated them are all is in the packet here. But the thing that I really want to show you guys is there's about 4 pages in here that is the Excel spreadsheet of how the town calculates the water and sewer impact fees. So you come up with, based on the occupancy and the design, you come up with about 152 fixture units. And the fixture unit is kind of the standard measure of water and sewer. And then the city of Frederick and the town of Thurmont, they calculate it a little bit differently. They use equivalent dwelling units instead of fixture units. Different way to get to the same number, basically. But Frederick County uses fixture units also. So we looked at how they would calculate these fees. And if you go to the last page in this handout, you'll see that Frederick County gives you a capacity adjustment factor is what they call it. So they recognize that different uses have, or I should say different, different building uses have different water and sewer capacity impacts. And I highlighted the church on here. So their impact, the church's impact in Frederick County's eyes is really the very, very minimal of all of these uses listed, with a restaurant being the highest usage. So the church, their usage, their capacity adjustment is 0.04, where a restaurant would be a 0.46. So it's a huge difference in the amount of water they use, the amount of sewer, and the impacts to their systems. The town doesn't do that. So the town just has one calculation across the board. Doesn't matter what your use is, that's the impact fee. And I think the way the county does it is really kind of what we're looking for the church, is their usage is going to be very minimal, which their impacts to the water and sewer system go along with that, very minimal impacts to the system. And I did do calculation. So if we took the town's current impact fees for water and sewer. And I didn't list it on yours because I just thought of it as I was coming into the meeting tonight. But if you applied the town's impact fees with the county adjustments, the impact fees would only be $25,402 as compared to the $164,000 that is being asked for the town or for the church to pay now.
0.04.
Microphone.
What is it? I'm sorry. So the 0.04 that the county uses,
Yeah.
that's 0.04 of what?
So what the county does, you take your fixture unit count. So we have 152 fixture units for water and sewer. And the county says, okay, take off your first 10, and that's your base payment. That would be equivalent to a single family dwelling. 10 fixture units is about a single family.
Okay.
So they have a base fee for that, which is, you go back to the first page, or the second page, $6,600 for water, $9,200 for sewer. So that's your base fee. So then there's 142 fixture units remaining. So then you take those 142 times 0.04. And that reduces it down to 5.68 fixture units. And then you multiply it, they give you the numbers, their fee per single fixture unit, and you multiply that out. So you pay a base fee, which is your first 10 fixture units
Buy one tap
to buy one tap.
at a minimum.
And then everything else is reduced by this chart.
60%.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending on what your use is. Like a grocery store is 0.16. So that's 4 times as much as the church. But then a restaurant is either 0.41 or 0.46, which is, a huge difference between that and a church. So even with that, even if you use the maximum that Frederick County says, it's still way under what the town is saying that their impact fees are. So that's what we're trying to show, that the church really has a very small impact on the water and sewer system. And it's not the $164,000, I think, could be better spent on something else for the church, because the impacts are going to be the usage. It's fully used 1 day a week. The rest of the days, there's a little bit of usage, but it's not like a restaurant, a grocery store, even an office building, doctor or dentist office, where it's pretty much used every day of the week.
I know the site plan has changed over the years. Can you refresh my memory if it had a smaller building design before and then it changed to something bigger?
Yeah, the building, the site plan's approved now, it's about 10,000 square feet, 10,500. So we do have an area where we could expand in the future. I can't say if that'll ever, we reserved an area. It's not necessarily approved on the site plan as an expansion. We just reserved an area, so potentially
So the original design was 10,500,
500.
always been that much?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay,
We have to, she's gonna pull it up.
okay, all right, thank you. And what is the full capacity of that building?
So it's designed for 198 seats in the sanctuary. They also have, they're going to put, classrooms and meeting rooms in there, but it wouldn't be a double usage. So you wouldn't have 198 people in the church and then 198 people in the classrooms. It's just that,
Correct.
that one group. would be using the church. So it's basically 200 people at a time.
Right. From what I understand with the tap fees, we were actually looking at increasing our tap fees. And I know we've talked a lot about water, in the past, water rates and such, and it's really hard to compare us to other towns or cities because of
Sorry,
I'm sorry?
because of our size.
Because of our size and the
Mhm.
technology of our water and sewer plants that we have for maintenance.
And that's kind of why I looked at Thermont also, because Thermont, they're probably a little bit bigger
Right.
system,
10 times bigger.
but
Correct.
in the
but they-
same,
I don't know that their water system with the plant has the same technologies that we do that requires the same maintenance, and that's where
Right.
we're getting stuck right now. So if we have as a town so many taps to offer, we have a finite number of taps, and based on the size of the building, based on code, the fixtures were already known, correct? So let's say in the future, if for some reason the building were to get sold and reused, it's possible something could go in that would take full capacity maintenance, and we have to be able to provide that with those taps. So, the church could grow, the church could be resold. So it's not, in my eyes, a matter of what is being used right now, but what this is looking at what the building can support.
If the use and occupancy changes down the road.
Right.
It becomes a grocery store, then
Right.
we would redo a fixture count because his use and occupancy would change.
Right.
If it becomes another church or the church grows itself,
Mhm.
that would be our bigger trouble. If the
Yeah.
church really was the
If there's-
198 in the classroom and the 198 in the service.
if there was any changes to the site plan, the town would, definitely get another crack at it.
But our fixtures are based on what the county code is saying is needed for that building, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
What building code says is needed, yes.
Correct. So, my concern is that this is, our fixture count is part of code, correct?
It will require a code change.
Yeah.
To do anything. And I believe that's what you're asking for.
We also did this. one
Something to address, whatever it takes to address it.
Yeah, yeah, I think the church really, like I said, $164,000 for the tap fees. Even with the technology of this system up here, that how new the treatment plants, both treatment plants are, it's really out of line with just about every other municipality around here. It's up, I'm just putting it out there. It's up to you guys,
I think
what your decision is.
part of what we're looking at isn't just the system as it exists, but where we're moving with our system. Not that we're going to be some space shot, but we're ahead of the curve among these municipalities regarding trying to repair a system that is antiquated. And you will find with high probability that other municipalities are going to be profoundly increasing their rates in order to address their aged systems as well. So I think we're kind of more aligned with sort of that future reality. The other piece is we do have a very small community and we're trying to serve the whole of the community. And I'm trying to balance this, and I'm trying to think of an event where we had modified something for, I'm not trying to be, crass, but nonprofit, like kind of that categorical as opposed to a church versus a non-church. I'm not recalling it, but I would turn to staff in a moment to ask that question if they have recollection, or the board, if we have a recollection of either diminishing or waiving fees. But the other part is, and I'll come to that. But the other part is, will this facility have a commercial kitchen?
No, it will not.
There'll be no commercial kitchen.
It will have a I guess what's considered a warming kitchen. So people would bring in food. It will not be cooking food, anything like that. in
No
there.
dishwashing or anything of that nature on site?
No.
Okay.
And no daycare, no nursery, that stuff won't be there. Like a full-time daycare doesn't have that, or
Today.
nursery school.
And today, and the classrooms, the intent for the classrooms, what instruction?
Excuse me?
The intent for the classrooms, what instruction?
So the way I understand it from Pastor John is that they meet in the sanctuary. They do their opening services, and they break off into the classrooms. Do their Bible study thing, and then come back to the main sanctuary after that.
Okay. Mr. Sweeney.
We did waive fees for the possible hotel or comfort inn that was coming in. We did change the fee structure for them.
No, you approved a payment plan.
Yeah, payment plan.
Right.
So we maintain the standard, but
But instead of having to pay for it,
upfront, it was broken up over time. Is that correct?
It was a 5-year payment plan.
Terrific.
It
Okay.
was done by resolution.
But for like Homes for America or any other group, I don't think we did waive,
No.
or rather, I don't think we waived or modified any ordinances
No,
related to water fees.
right, because there's nothing in your code that permits you to do it.
oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
That's
go.
okay. No, I just want to bring back a little history. I think it was, I was fairly new to the council when we adopted our plan. And we were told by the town planner that that was the way it was done everywhere. Well, now I'm seeing that it's not, and it kind of makes sense. You know, why would you have a church that's being used one day a week have the same fee as a car wash? The fixture count's got to be there. I get that. But, you know, because I would have never voted if I'd have seen something like this. I'd have never voted of what we did, because this kind of makes sense. That, you know, one size doesn't fit all. And that's all I'm saying.
Commissioner Hoover.
Seeing it here, I do understand what the mayor's saying, and I tend to agree a little bit there. I'm not sure that I want to change the ordinance yet, but what I am curious about though is, well, you explained how Frederick County does it, and I understood theirs. I did not see what you got here on the last page of Frederick County in the past, so I wasn't aware of the 0.04s and of whatever other numbers, 0.17 and so on.
Sure.
So now I understand how Frederick County does it. How does other towns, particularly Thurmont, I guess I'll use Thurmont as the example, or even Frederick City, how are they coming up with such a number of?
So they do it a
0.4
little bit
something?
differently,
Okay.
and theirs is what they call equivalent dwelling units.
Mhm.
So you assume, so a one-family residential home is typically 250 gallons per day.
Mhm.
When we look at what the church is, when you convert it to gallons, it works out to be, it's like 3 gallons per seat. So that's, call it rough number 600, rounded up to 600 gallons per day. So that's how they do it. So if you take 600 gallons per day divided by 250, that's 2.4 equivalent dwelling units. So the city of Frederick and Thurmont charge, like I said, by the equivalent dwelling unit, based just a different way to come up to the same numbers.
But somehow, some way they came up with 3 gallons per seat.
That's, that is typically the state of Maryland sets those numbers. Frederick County has their own variation of that. Any of the municipalities could have their own variation of that, like, but that's what the city of Frederick was. That's what, for these numbers, that's what I used, was what the city of Frederick used, 3 gallons
Okay.
per day per seat.
Interesting. Because our number will probably come up a little less from what you're asking or suggesting or talking about. Our numbers are actually would come up far less than Frederick County, because their fixture count is 10 equals a EDU. Ours is a 15. Right?
Okay.
Right. So actually our number would be less than theirs. Dollar wise.
Well, I didn't convert it that way.
Yeah, because ours is, I think it's still 15, right? And I think we used the same fixture count rating as they use, or we did.
The-
I'm not sure if
The
it's
same as, the same as the county.
correct.
So
So each fixture.
Going by-
Each
yeah.
fixture's worth the same number of points.
yes, they are the same.
And
So,
they make 10, one EDU, and we make 15, one EDU.
right. So if you use equivalent fixture units between Emmitsburg and Frederick County,
We're gonna have less.
well, fixture units, it's almost the same impact fee as what Frederick County would be. It's a little bit more
Because of the cost of the,
just the way the
of
the
tap-
base,
of the tap.
yeah, the base fee is set up. I did not look at it at 15. So I didn't look at it the other way as an equivalent dwelling unit.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Thoughts?
I'm not sure where I want to go.
I'm not sure where I want to go either.
I mean, 164,000, compared to 25,000 with the rate for churches under Frederick County. I mean, that's a massive difference. And the church is a nonprofit. It's a tax exempt organization. Charging them 164 is like a tax. It just doesn't sit right with me. They bring a lot of value to this community. They participate in town events. They've been paying the town rent for years on the current building that they're in. They provide a summer program for our children that's like $50 for the week. Where else are you going to get that? They're offering rides to residents in Emmitsburg who need a ride to church. They make arrangements and they go and pick them up. I just think they bring a value to the community, and I think often our religious organizations they get the short end of the stick, and I think it's important to people. I think the value they bring to the community is important, and I think if we can do something, we should. They are a very low end user for water compared to our other commercial businesses. And, they're having to raise money to build the church. I mean, based on donations and loans. So it just 164,000 just seems excessive. So if we can do something, I would like to do that.
Was there any consideration, because these fees were set, they were set, they haven't changed in the last, I don't know how many years. So it wasn't an unknown going into the project. Was there discussion about looking at a building size that was more affordable for those fees up front? Okay.
I'm Kevin Neer from Profit and Associates. I'm the architect on the project. So the way the building design proceeded was with the available land, they could accommodate a building of about 10,500 square feet based upon the available area for parking and so forth. So what we determined that the seating count of the sanctuary, they wanted to seat approximately 200 people. So we sized the sanctuary for that, and then sized the number of plumbing fixtures by the code for that as well. So that's the basis of their design. They wanted to fit what the maximum area that they could based on the site plan. Now, I will say that when we take bids, we are going to structure the bids so that we can have an alternate where they would only develop the sanctuary part and then build a shell over the classroom and develop the classrooms later.
So like an addition later on.
Not necessarily an addition, but we would construct the roof
Mhm.
and the floor and the walls,
Mhm.
but they wouldn't occupy the classroom area. It would essentially be a shell, an empty space, until which time they could afford to do that portion of the project.
Mhm. So there was no discussion about looking at downsizing based on the cost of the building that it would incur. Like if you go right for the max and you're like, can't afford it, do you go back to and say, well, what can we trim down so we can,
That was our trimming down, was to take the classrooms
Mhm.
and make that as an alternate that we can either afford to do now.
Mhm.
If we can do that, great. If we can't, then we just build the shell over it and develop it later.
So how does that work with taps then? Because if you're building a shell, and I don't know, maybe this is for Nigela, but how
So-
does that work as far as, do you have to pay for those taps ahead of time? Or is there a way that you could say that this is going to be phase one and just pay for the taps in phase one? And then as you're ready for the second phase, then additional taps, or you have to pay for it all at one time? So like if there was another building in town who wanted to do an addition, how does that work? Because they wouldn't have paid for those taps ahead of time. You know what I mean?
So or if their plans are approved with everything and then they choose to phase it in, they have to pay for all the tap fees because it's going to be based off the plans that were
Right.
approved by the planning commission.
Right.
So everything would have to be paid up front. They could make the decision to phase it in later, but they would have to be paid up front.
I see. So it would actually change the site plan in order to, like
Right.
I understand. Okay. All right.
A question about the summer program. Is this a program that runs all summer? Do we know that?
No, it's like a week-long Bible vacation program.
It's just like 1 week at a time, or just 1 week out of the summer, or?
I think it's 1 week during the summer. if I'm
Yeah, that's usually what it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes,
I
Mayor.
promised I wasn't going to speak again, but I lied. If we are so far out of proportion with a church, are we that far out of proportion with all of our other businesses that might ever look to develop here in town?
Commissioner Hoover, did you say that some of these numbers need to be adjusted based on the 10 versus 15?
I'd like to see the numbers to answer that question. The problem is, I mean, we keep going down this same old alley, is that we compare our tap fee cost to another municipality, use Thermont, Tonytown, Frederick, or anybody else. Our cost to produce clean water or to treat sewer is not the same cost as another municipalities, just because we're the same size or in the same general area. But so the cost for us to get water and, you know, the treatment that we do for the reservoir versus the well is not the same as what 20 Town's doing. I believe 20 Town's 100% wells. Thermont, I think they still got a reservoir, but I'm not sure they did, but I can't remember if they still do or not. But so it's not 4 or 5 times the amount typically, but I don't know what everybody else's their actual tap fees are, how far off they are. But comparing us from one municipality to another across the state or even across the state line here, since we're so close, it's just, what does it truly cost us to build the water plant, treat the water, and provide that 250 gallons, or to treat that same 250 gallons? Is the real question.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but I can't believe that we're 6 times more expensive. That's a crazy number, like Commissioner Turnquist said. You know, to go from 30,000 to 160,000.
But you're not. It's because we don't have that marker for churches. So the
Right.
tap fees aren't that far off from Frederick
Correct.
County to ours.
Right,
to
but what I'm
Vermont.
saying by not having
We-
this marker,
But we
that,
don't
that,
have the church marker. We don't
that
have.
affects every business that may come to town, correct?
It affects churches.
Affects churches.
Everybody.
It
Well,
affects.
No, it would,
Everybody- every
it would affect a
business.
grocery store. If a
It-
grocery store came to Emmitsburg,
It affects everybody.
compared Emmitsburg to,
Wow.
to the other
Mhm.
store, it would affect any business that would come to town.
What I would say is that your base fee is a little bit more than the city of Frederick, than Thurmont. It's in the ballpark. It's about, I'd call it about the same, a little bit more, but about the same. It's when you get above that base fee where, Frederick County gives you that reduction based on the use of the building, where there's no reduction here based on what the impacts would be.
So moving forward, since this is discussion, do we want to see more of a comparison with the 10 versus the 15 fixtures, like you were saying, Commissioner Hoover? My hesitation and concern is that we did raise water fees 36% on the backs of our residents because we're trying to pay for our water. And these fees have been in place for years. So I also want to be cognizant of whatever change we do, that we're not inadvertently shooting ourselves in the foot because now we can't pay to process our water. So that's
Can
got
I,
to be part of the discussion as well.
can I just
Agreed.
add
I agree.
something?
You may.
Your water and sewer fees, whatever that rate is, that's usually what's for treatment
Operational.
purposes.
Mhm.
The impact fees are normally for maintenance fees, basically, future maintenance fees for the system. So that's where the impact for each individual type would come into effect. Like the chart shows, there's a restaurant is going to have a lot more impact to the overall system than even a grocery store does.
So I think there's a little bit of a difference. We don't have water and sewer impact fees. What your connection fees are is just your connection fees for water, your connection fees for sewer. We have a separate impact fee of $1,200 that goes into your general fund for your parks and your emergency warning systems. So they're two separate things.
For residential dwelling.
Huh?
The impacts for residential dwelling, not
Yes.
the church wouldn't have.
Right. So there's church has no impact fees with the
Right.
town.
Correct.
Correct.
So we'll just throw in sort of echoing what we're hearing. There is great value that this organization, the church, and organization, the church adds to our community. There's no negotiating that. That's an absolute fact, and it's unequivocal. The other reality that we're dealing with is that there's an expense piece to providing these two services of providing the fresh water and treating the wastewater. And those fees are what drive what the town charges for these things. And it's, to sort of echo Commissioner Hoover's remarks, to compare us to other systems isn't correct to do that directly because their expenses to provide and to process are profoundly different than ours based on an economy of scale, age of system, and actual type of processing. So these are where these numbers are coming from. There's no malice here. There's no intent to cause harm. The other side of it, though, is sure, we do have to be mindful and we do have to have a sense of, I'll argue, propriety. Okay. But we do want these things to grow. We do want to see appropriate growth here. This is absolutely aligned with that thought. But it's the business side of things that's the hard piece to negotiate. It's hard to swallow because it's a hard reality. And sure, we can change those rates, but then we might be pushing it to other entities, the citizens or other businesses. So that is the difficulty of sitting up here. So.
And if I can just jump in and make this clear, I think based on the conversation, I think we're all on the same page about this, but I just want to make sure we are. The solution here would not just be for this church, right? You couldn't just do a one-off thing for them. What we're really talking about is a comprehensive change to how you calculate your rates. So just making sure.
Correct. Correct.
Does anybody else have concerns about how this may impact us in the future with other businesses coming in? I mean, if you have a giant store that could build in Thurmont and it would save them $250,000 in fees, or they could build here in Emmitsburg and it cost them 250,000 more. Or am I missing? Am I off base or?
No, I don't think anybody's really off base. I mean, we're just all trying to discuss it out, but I think, but you know, I've never, as I said earlier, I've never seen the Frederick County breakdown, or so to, whatever you want to call it, like that. I think it's worth for us discussing, not tonight, or but in a future meeting, should we do this? And if so, how do we come with those numbers? And, you know,
Well, you do have your workshop in 10 days. That's your agendas for that workshop. So
yeah.
that's.
I think it's worth for us considering and looking into for the bigger picture. What Clark was just saying, though, you know, not specifically for one property, you know, and, but, so I think it's going to take longer than, and I don't know what the Christ Community Church's timetable here is, but I think there's gonna be a whole lot more thought and input to be taken. I think it would take quite a while for us to go through utilizing Frederick County as a template. I think to get, I mean, you know, agreeance, you know, amongst the board, or at least, you know, enough board members, I should say, of what's all the right numbers. I think we're a ways down the road from that. But so I don't know what the timetable is of the church, but I don't know if we're going to be dead or not, but I think it's certainly worth a discussion. And I agree that our workshop coming up is about sewer and water taps and all that. But I think this one page by itself is a meeting all by itself. All night. It's going to be, it's going to take a while. So it's going to take multiple meetings, I believe, to come down to that, and multiple, you know, other people must do it like Frederick County, and we get some other grants and some other opinions of why Frederick County's 0.04 and why somebody else's 0.07 or 0.02 or whatever it may be. But I think you're right. We need to look into it to find out that we're not running business out. We're telling people stay out. I think it's worth looking into. It's just that I don't think for the person that brought this to our attention, or for the organization brought this to our attention, I guess, I don't know that we're going to meet their time frame, their timetable, because the bigger thing is what President was just talking about is, you know, sewer and water tap fees were altered a year and a half, give or take, a while back, and they were put on the, you know, they need to be looked at again, I believe, and resolve that. So I think we just need to plan on meeting with this, meeting and discussing this item again in the future, in the near future. And like I say, I think it'd be more than one meeting.
I think we can get the discussion started at our workshop for sure, but like you said, Commissioner Hoover, I don't know that it'll be resolved as much as we want it to. But it is something we can come back to during the workshop. Yes, okay. Commissioner Turnquist?
I don't know that we can take months for this. Normally, when an applicant makes a request to the town, like for a text amendment, there's a certain period of time in which we have to review it and make a decision, correct?
Yes, I'll defer to Clark, but this doesn't fall under the zoning, so I don't know if it has a time.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of the issue is there's not really anything that can be done. This isn't a formal, this isn't a formal request like a text amendment. This is, as I understand it, a general ask for the town. Well, okay, so let me be a bit more blunt there. If the request is that the town make an exception specifically for this applicant, that's not something the town can do. All that it can do is, as we've discussed, amend or make changes to the overall calculation for how they reach these numbers. So no, there's not really any,
So he would need to put in a formal request to amend the code, and then it would be put on a timetable for a more immediate review. If he puts in a formal request for a text amendment.
Yeah,
It-
this
it's-
isn't a text amendment.
yeah, that only applies to
That's for
the
zoning.
zoning code. That wouldn't
It's
wouldn't
not a
be-
text amendment to the zoning code?
no.
No. This is, falls under the public services, chapter 13,
When
which will
we-
require public hearings that any change that you make to that, correct?
So yeah, to the extent that you change water and sewer rates, they do have to be advertised. And I believe that connection fee would fall under the very broad definition of rate under the state code. So yes, I think any change would need to be advertised.
You said because it falls under zoning?
No,
No.
the public utilities article, state law.
Well, I mean, to amend the text for the tap fees, because it's not zoning.
Right. So that's not something that there's an application for. People can bring issues with the town code generally to the town's attention and ask that they be addressed, but that's not a formal submission process, unlike the zoning code where zoning applicants can bring text amendment before the town, and those do have the timelines provided there.
Additional questions, comments? Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for hearing this request from the church, and if you guys get into it, changing it, I'd be happy to help you with any, other numbers that you might need.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the additional details. It's very helpful.
Okay. Moving on, last item for consideration, approval of paving bid for Zanilla Drive, Provincial Parkway to last cul-de-sac for consideration.
All right, I'll go over this real quickly. This is to, the town of Emmitsburg was seeking qualified contractors to complete the required services that are bulleted on page 88 for Zanilla Drive. It's from Provincial Parkway to last cul-de-sac, except for a small section from 10 to 14 Zanilla Drive, which had already been completed. The RFP was published by the town on July 16th. The bids were due August 16th. The bids were opened on August 21st by myself, Mr. Click and Ms. King, and they are being presented to you, the board, today. They were advertised as required by town code on the website, e-Maryland Marketplace, Facebook, and it was sent to 10 potential contractors that the town has solicited requests from in the past. This is a town-funded project. Funding does exist in Fund 2, capital improvements. You'll see listed on the bottom is the bids that we received. We received 5 bids. And after reviewing the bids, staff recommends White Pine Paving in the amount of $54,300. They have done previous paving projects for the town, and your Director of Public Works has been satisfied with their work.
I'm sorry, what did you say the recommendation was?
White Pine Paving at $54,300.
So you've, okay, so they've worked with White Pine Paving before.
Yes.
Okay. Any
Right.
questions? Comments?
I'll make a motion.
All right, is
Um,
there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept staff's recommendations to accept White Pine paving at the price of $54,300 for street paving Zanella Drive.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, any further questions or discussion?
Zanella Drive is in
Thank you.
Northgate, I thought it was.
Thank you. I drew a
think-
blank.
I remember as
Like-
Zanella Way.
There.
North End.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. All All right, and that brings us to setting the agenda for the next meeting.
For your September 24th, is it going to be a workshop or an official meeting with action items?
I was thinking it would be a workshop.
Okay, so then I have just the three, which be discussion of water and sewer connection fees. I just broke it out into 3 agenda items.
This is for the workshop.
The workshop,
Oh, this is for the work. Okay, I thought.
September 24th,
All
is
right,
it the
okay.
24th? At 7 PM,
Okay.
I believe. Hold on, let me double check the date. Is that correct? Thanks. Okay, so discussion of water and sewer connection fees, discussion of water and sewer rates, and discussion of residential impact fees.
Okay.
Okay. And then,
And my flight's been delayed, so I won't be here for that.
Okay. All right. Are we also setting the, or are we going to set the agenda for October as of now or at the workshop?
no, I can go ahead and set it now.
Okay.
I have 5 consent agenda items.
All right.
First one, for consideration, accept the resignation of Brian McKinney as an alternate on the Board of Appeals.
Okay.
Number 2, for consideration, appoint Timothy O'Donnell to the Parks and Recreation Committee with a term of October 7th, 2024 to October 7th, 2026. Number 3, for consideration, appoint Timothy O'Donnell to the Planning Commission as an alternate with a term of October 7th, 2024 to October 7th, 2029. For consideration, the proclamation declaring October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And number 5, you can close your ears, Commissioner O'Donnell. For consideration, the proclamation honoring Commissioner Timothy J. O'Donnell. Agenda items. Number 1 will be swearing in of the new commissioners. Number 2, for consideration, reorganization of the Board of Commissioners. Number 3, initial presentation of the comprehensive plan. Number 4, hold a public hearing and then consideration of amendment to Chapter 17. It's 4 separate sections, 0.020, 0.04020, 0.36020, 0.36040, and 0.36090 of the town code to allow and establish requirements for student housing in the village zone district. Number 5, for consideration, discussion, approval of ordinance 2024-10, amending Title 8 of the Town Code to establish a rental registration program.
Rental registration.
Number 6, for consideration, approval of bid for MDE groundwater appropriation permit support.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, for consideration, approval of bid for MDE groundwater appropriation permit support.
Thank you.
Number 7, for consideration, approval of change order number 1 for engineering services water clarifier project. And with your permission, can we just delay the charging for EV stations to November? Or would you like them in October? Of course you do.
Which year?
Right.
Yeah, we can,
Is that okay?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that or is it too much? It sounds like a big load.
It is a big load. I had something I wanted to add, but not even gonna try for next month. Roll it over into the following.
How much is in that comp plan?
It's just gonna be a brief initial. Are you gonna have copies?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just gonna be a brief initial, here you go.
Go do your homework.
Yeah, pretty much. So public comments open. It will be open by then? Not yet, not yet, never mind.
But we will have the public hearing.
Yeah, that's a time sensitive, it has to be done.
can we put the rental, can we pull the rental thing until,
They kind of go hand in hand.
So you're saying 4 and 5 goes hand in hand?
Yeah. I think your November is going to be just as busy. I think it's just going to be just as busy from here on.
well,
out.
then we'll have to have 2 meetings. How
I
you like
know.
that?
I don't. You know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I would sooner have 2 hour-and-a-half, hour, 45-minute meetings than
Yeah.
1 4-hour meeting, but
all right.
I can always excuse myself. You guys can't.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the agenda for October 7th as presented?
For November.
October,
What do you mean November?
October 7th.
This is October 7th.
October 7th.
Are you trying to just skip over?
Trying to go to bed.
I moved.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. So
Up
moved.
too
Is
early.
there a second? Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Can I just say one?
Oh,
quick
I'm
thing?
sorry. Yes.
No, and I forgot to bring this up under my comments, but if you notice this past 2 weeks, as Sabrina gets big items available, she's going to start sending them out instead of waiting for the agenda packet. So if it's something that Clark's doing that needs to be reviewed in a lot of time to digest it, we're going to try to get that out to you early so you can start to read that thing. There are certain things we can't have ready for the full agenda packet, but we can have those big items, and she's starting to do that. So you're going to be getting that ahead of time. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll definitely have number 4, number 5 for the public hearing and the rental. You'll have that in advance,
Okay.
probably about 2 weeks ahead of time.
Perfect. Thank you. That'll really help. You know, even just what Maddie was sending along was helpful too. So, all right. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 9:47 PM.